So near and yet so far for the Indian women's football team. A heartbreaking loss, you can say, and a performance which was very much a game of two halves because they struggled a bit in the first, looked much better in the second, probably deserved a point, but then some loose defending right there towards the end means that India once again make a losing start to their continental adventures, the AFC Women's Asia Cup, where, remember, there has been a lot of talk from the AIFF, the All India Football Federation, that this team might be good enough to target FIFA World Cup qualification. Well, if that's the case, then I think, Nikhil, it's fair to say, gotten off to the worst start possible.
Yeah, I think it's a big jolt. I mean, it's still not done, and we'll try and explain why it's still not done. But remember, India only have 3 games. So this was one game that they would be targeting to at least take a point, if not all the winning points from here. And having lost the first game, that's what I'll still agree with the one term that you used, which is heartbreak. Okay, I'll take that. But then I see, at least for the official handle of AFF, I see, oh, the girls fought bravely and things like that. I think I'm a bit done with that. The whole thing about fighting bravely. And so if you are brave and you fight bravely, that doesn't really help you go through the tournament. So I think eventually you have to notch together results. And I think India today had a great chance of not only, as I said, pulling off a draw, which they ideally should have, could have gotten off a win as well. And I think there were a few gaping holes, which I think we will discuss as we go along. But before that, just to let you know, because as I said, there is still a chance and so on and so forth. It's not an easy group for India, right? So there are 4 teams, and there is Vietnam, which is 36th rank, to which you have lost. India, of course, is at the bottom with 67. So, of course, they have the least amount of chance. Chinese Taipei higher up at 40, Vietnam at 36, Japan, just forget about it. And I think once you just forget about Japan, you can still be in the top 2 and qualify. That's why you needed to win against Vietnam and Chinese Taipei, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can qualify. This is a tournament where you can qualify 3rd place as well. If you're one of those teams. That's why I was thinking, potentially, if you can get a point of Vietnam, target a win against Chinese Taipei, 4 points, you're in with top 2, but at least guaranteed a top 3 finish. Then the Japan game doesn't matter. Now you're in a situation where 8th ranked Japan, the highest ranked team in the tournament and one of the favorites.
No, forget about Japan. They're not even getting a draw. Let's be honest. I mean, less than a miracle. Now, I think there is a way you beat Chinese Taipei, hope Chinese Taipei take some points of Vietnam, which is, they're close there, 36-40 in terms of ranking. And then you can have 3 teams tied on the same points, and then the goal difference comes into play. So that is the other thing you can hope for by finishing second. That lucky loser, those 3rd place finishes which take you to the quarterfinal, that I think now with this loss is going to be tough.
If you're a draw, I think you were in with a good chance. Because with 4 points, let's assume you had 2 teams make 6. 4 points, you're saying, okay, look, this is comfortable, because there are teams who could be finishing 3rd with 1 point as well. But now, I mean, you need 4 points. It's not happening. At best, you're getting a 3 maybe against Chinese Taipei. Japan getting a draw would be a minor miracle. I think Indian football should celebrate if you can get a draw against this Japanese team. But it's tough.
I don't think that'll happen. That's why I'm saying your best chance is hope for Chinese Taipei to beat Vietnam. You beat Chinese Taipei. All 3 teams tied there, and that scenario can help you qualify for the quarterfinals. So then you get so close to the FIFA World Cup. Just to let you know, all teams that win their quarterfinals, the 4 teams that will win their quarterfinals, will all go to the Women's FIFA World Cup. The teams that lose the quarterfinal will go in for a playoff, and 2 teams there will make it. So a total of 6 teams go from the Asian continent. So there could be an outside chance, but first thing first, you have to qualify for quarterfinal. That's taken a big jolt today because you did not get to a draw. Just to let you know what the point table is, and just to reiterate that 3 points for Vietnam having beaten India, Japan have beaten Chinese Taipei on top. As I said, this can then get to 3 teams tied. That's India's best case scenario. So when is it that India play their next game? Next up is
India versus Japan. Forget about it. I mean, if you can get even a draw here, it'll be a minor miracle. Win, forget about it. But 7th March, obviously, then you've got India, Japan. Then 10th March, the game that could define your campaign, India versus Chinese Taipei.
That's the game to look out for. And before I get to the nitty-gritties of the game, one thing that I did notice today, the number of Vietnam fans that turned up at the stadium. And the entire stadium, it was not packed. Of course, it's a women's game, and it's in a 3rd country, which is not even the host, so you can't really pack stadiums. But 99% of the fans that were there in the stadium, or can I say 95%, were Vietnamese fans, so they were in thousands. Remaining, I'll say out of the 95%, 4% were neutrals. I saw, local Australians that must have just turned up to watch a Women's World Cup game. And 1% of Indian fans, even less than 1%, I only spotted 2-3 people. And that, I think, is a big grouse that I have. Why? Because Perth is a city that I've been to. There are thousands of Indians that stay there. Definitely more than Vietnamese fans. And I have been and I've covered cricket games in Perth, and they turn up in large numbers. The entire community, Indian community in Perth, the least they could have done is turn up for the girls. Why? Because that makes a difference. Anyone who follows football or knows that the crowd support really makes a difference. That's why they say home advantage. Why? Because majority fans are with you. So when close calls, there were a few calls that went against India, or that they put pressure, the crowd puts pressure on the referee. Calls that went against Vietnam, you can hear them say boo and things like that, puts pressure on the referee. Then of course when they were down 1-all, crowd cheering the Vietnamese team on, they tend to perform better. And see, you get the goal towards the death. Why? Because you're high on adrenaline with the number of fans that are chanting your team's name or your name, and that pushes you through. So I think that is a big miss, and that's the sad state of affairs. I see Indians in Australia, for the Indianness, they'll celebrate Holi, they'll do this, Diwali, and everything. And
they'll turn up for cricket matches.
Yeah, and this is such a crucial tournament for Indian women, and you may not be a big football fan. It's an easy sport to understand. Least you can do is turn up, and it's in the evening, late in the evening after working hours. Surely a few thousand could have turned up.
I mean, we always talk about, we want to support, we want the sport to grow. This was a perfect chance. Also, by the way, I don't care where it is you're playing. There's never a chance that you'll not have a diaspora. Never. My point is turn up and show. I don't think tickets would be that expensive. It's an AFC tournament. Right now it's group stages, matches won't be at a premium. Go, at least it would have made some difference, because I do think that the Vietnamese team, when it was 1-all, they fed off the energy that they were feeling in the stadium, and it was so easy to, because the number of fans there, the Vietnamese fans were loud, passionate, and they made sure that they got behind the team. Unfortunately, whoever was behind the Indian team was also most likely behind a screen.
Yeah, that is a sad state of affairs. What that has resulted is in 2-1, and just to sum up the game, I think heartbreak. Yes, they had a few good chances. For me, the standout player was Nirmala Devi, the right back, absolutely outstanding, stood like a rock, ensured that any attack, from that left flank for Vietnam, she ensured that wouldn't happen.
The goalkeeper as well made a few good saves.
Yes, she did, but I think she's an outstanding goalkeeper, and I know why she's being playing by Valverde, the coach, because India was playing a high press game, and they were playing a lot of possession football, and she's very good with the ball, Manuel Neuer type. Like she likes
picking those long passes.
Correct. She likes passing. She does that. But like say for example, the goal that she concedes could have looked to spot. Better. She's not really a tall keeper there, so it was really high, very tough for her to stop. There was one goal, I think she made an error, which luckily became offside. Otherwise, they would have been 2-0 up. She made an error there. The goal that happened, I don't think, the second goal that happened.
Defense just slept there.
Correct. So for me, Nirmala Devi stand out. The one actually that left a lot to be desired, Captain Sweetie. I think there were a couple of chances. I just couldn't understand, a high ball. She just wasn't going for headers. I don't know whether it is something to do with her injury. I know both her knees were wrapped up, but I expected better from the skipper. I think certain places she was found wanting. Manisha is a big unit. I think she can really scare the opposition. The only thing I would like from the Indian team is not always rely on Manisha for your attacks. I think what they were trying to do is always feed her, keep a few options open, and that can surprise the opposition. But she's a big unit. I like that shot she took at towards the end. Could have been a goal. What a long ranger she is.
She's I think one of the standout players, has experience playing in Europe as well.
Yes.
So she's someone who can actually make an impact. I think everyone was looking forward, and I think even the Vietnamese team knew, listen, stop her and you've stopped the attack. So maybe you need a couple more outlets. We've seen it happen in international football in the past, whereby one player gets overmarked. You need to find that outlet. Maybe the Indian team needs to work on finding that outlet.
Yeah, Nongrum as well, great substitution, comes in. What a goal. I think it was a first touch of the game, that itself, as soon as the second half started. First time gets that goal, stunning goal there. Haldar, the other substitute, I think she on the left flank could have done slightly better. Shasha had a bad day. I mean, she's a good player. She had a bad day overall. So certain good areas, certain not so good areas. But I'll tell you overall, as I said, heartbreak, I can agree. But I like that the team, very rarely do you see Indian team play possession football
They
for a
went
long
it.
time.
They
Yeah.
went for it. That's
Yeah.
that's the thing I'll respect. I mean, okay, maybe you might not win that way, and I can understand playing a little park the bus when you're up against a Japan. I
Yeah.
get that because there you are clearly not the favorite. But here it was a team that was somewhat close to being in your league, and you said no, we're going to attack and try and win. First half could have been better. I felt they were a little all over the place at times. Second half though, much improved. And at that point, you're thinking if you had this performance from the get-go, you could have actually been looking at a draw or maybe dreaming of a win. Maybe.
Yeah. And Vietnam, for those of you who don't know, women's football, arguably one of the most improved teams. I think
Yeah,
they
in
played
recent
the
memory.
last Women's World Cup as well under their legendary coach. So they're a good team and, favorites to go through alongside Japan from this group. So in that sense, I think it was never a game of, unequals. It was a game of equals. So India was matching them shot for shot and play for play, but eventually that's what big game experience.
That two small mistakes is what kills you, and that's what happened.
Yeah, but just a reminder, we'll continue our continuous coverage irrespective of the fact whether fans in Perth or the rest of the part of Australia turn up or not. We here at Sports Today will keep bringing you all the latest updates from here. Who knows? A minor miracle, but still there's a chance, far better a chance of making it at a FIFA World Cup than the men's team.
Sure. I mean, they make the quarters, and that's that.
Yeah. Give us a like on the video. Share it with your friends who may be interested in this particular tournament or even to raise awareness. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today.